Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you 4 different ways you can maximize your quarry in Stardew Valley. Technically it's made for spawning in rocks every once in a while, but honestly I think there are much better ways to use this land. After unlocking the quarry by completing the Craftsman bundle in the community center, or by purchasing the bridge from the Joja Community Development Forum, you'll spawn rocks and occasionally nodes that can give you a variety of gems and ores. However, at least in the beginning this process is very slow, and a trip to the Skull Cavern can get you more in one day than a quarry will give you in whole seasons or years. Thankfully, there are many other things you can do with this enormous chunk of land, and being accessible by minecart also makes it not as out of the way as it seems. So let's turn this forgettable piece of gameplay into something actually useful. Alright, so I don't know about you guys, but I think one of the most annoying building materials to get in this game is the tapper products: pine tar, oak resin, and maple syrup. It's not like it's difficult, tappers are pretty easy to make and trees spawn all over your farm. However, it is time consuming and annoying having to dedicate an entire area of your farm for trees when you'd rather fill it up with crops or animals. My solution: fill your quarry with trees and tappers. I'll be honest, it does take some time to set up, but the result is so worth it. Just plant all those acorns, pine cones, and maple seeds you have lying around, sprinkle with some tree fertilizer if you have the resources, and craft yourself some tappers. This is the most annoying part, but trust me, if you do this you will never have to worry about having enough of these products, and if you have a surplus, which you will, just sell them. Once set up, it literally takes no maintenance other than harvesting every week or so, and sell prices for these products are pretty good, especially in bulk. Not to mention, in the late game you can unlock mystic trees and heavy tappers, which will set you up for even more insane profit. In my example, I separated dedicated areas for oak, pine, and maple trees, and set out some pathways to keep everything organized and looking nice. Tappers produce pine tar every 5 days, oak resin every 7 days, and maple syrup every 9 days. However, if you can get a hold of some heavy tappers, this lowers the wait times down to 2 days for pine tar, 3 days for oak resin, and 4 days for maple syrup. These trees will continue to produce every season including winter, so once set up all you have to do is harvest. Technically, the absolute most profitable way to set up your quarry would just be filling every last inch of it with kegs and stuffing them with starfruit. However, when I use this route, I set it up with aesthetics at least partially in mind. In this example, I have a dedicated area for preserve jars to make jelly, and another for kegs, which is further divided into sections for coffee, wine, beer, and mead, just so I have a little bit of everything. Obviously, this takes more time than just having one product going that you can come and refill on a set schedule, but if you have extra time or prefer a variety of products, I would recommend a setup like this. This quarry layout is super helpful from a money-making standpoint, especially if you have the artisan profession, which makes artisan products worth 40% more. And again, most people just have these things on their farm, but having an extra dedicated space for artisan products is super helpful and can save you a lot of room on your farm. Plus, I think you can get very creative with this idea and make it into a very beautiful area that is also profitable. The only downside to this option is that it does take a long time to set up. Kegs and preserve jars are more expensive to produce, and you will need a lot of them. Also, even after you do have everything set up, maintenance is also a lot higher. You have to harvest and refill all these machines, and it takes more time depending on how many different products you have brewing. Despite the amount of hard work it takes to have this set up, I think it's fully worth it. The profits you will get when harvesting is insane, and it saves you a lot of space on your farm. I've even seen people put their looms and oil makers here too, just because they take up extra space. It is a little annoying having to travel to harvest all these goods, but if you have the minecarts unlocked, it doesn't really take much time at all. When I have this layout, I find myself visiting more often, and it's always a very satisfying trip. Since the quarry is so close to the mines, I thought it'd be a cool idea to store furnaces and crystallariums here. After a hard day of mining, you can make a quick stop to drop off some ores and pick them up as bars the next day. It's also a convenient point to hold crystallariums too, as they're out of the way and it's a fitting environment being so close to the source. Obviously, this one is a bit more difficult to accomplish, as crystallariums are definitely expensive and can only be crafted after reaching mining level 9. However, if you don't mind the initial investment, it'll definitely pay off. After you get everything set up, you're basically just getting a bunch of free diamonds every 5 days, or whatever gem you choose to put in them, diamonds being the most profitable of course. In this example, I decided to keep a section of the quarry left alone. I think it looks cool and it fits in with the purpose of this layout pretty well. I also have an area dedicated to chests where I can store all my ores and lots of coal so I can keep the furnaces running. This is definitely not a realistic option in the early game, but it can be achieved with a lot of hard work and materials. I personally love this layout, I think it looks awesome, and is a really cool flex to have your quarry producing a bunch of free diamonds every week. It is also very customizable and can look pretty cool with the right design. Bee houses are a useful artisan machine that gives you honey out of basically nothing. No maintenance or input, you just magically get a fresh jar of honey every 4 days. The base product is only worth 100 gold, but if the beehive is placed near a flower grown on your farm, it can increase the price by a ton, the most being 680 gold from the fairy rose. Unfortunately, however, you can't place flowers in the quarry, but you can load it up with beehives. Even without the flowers, beehives are extremely profitable, and after being crafted, they can be placed anywhere, left alone, and harvested every 4 days. So if you absolutely load up your quarry with bee houses, you can get thousands of gold every few days from doing basically nothing. Bee houses can definitely be annoying to craft, however they are cheaper than previously mentioned crystallariums or kegs, so I would definitely recommend them as a viable option. In this layout, I tried to go for a garden feel with trees, grass, and furniture to make it feel a bit more cozy. I think the bee houses fit perfectly with this aesthetic. That's it for today's video. Let me know if you have any more quarry ideas in the comments, or just suggestions in general. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.